Welcome to Marauders Weekly on NBC North Dakota Sports. Marauders Weekly is your exclusive home to University of Emery Marauder athletics all season long. Football, basketball, volleyball, and more. You'll see it right here on Marauders Weekly.
Softball season finished a couple of weeks ago. The baseball team ended theirs yesterday on Saturday, and track and field is getting ready to end their outdoor season this month. And all in all, it's been a good spring season for the University of Emery. Welcome to Marauders Weekly. I'm Kaleigh Emery. Thanks for tuning in. Now, as spring sports are coming to an end, I figured that it wouldn't be right to not have Marauders Athletic Director Roger Thomas come in. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Pleasure to be here.
So we've got plenty to talk about, kind of wrapping up the spring and winter sports seasons. To start things off, we're going to talk about the basketball teams. The men's team and the women's team had a really good year. Men's team actually went to NSIC playoffs. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, that was exciting. I mean, with a change of coaches and not knowing what to expect, I think the team really rallied around the coach, just had great camaraderie, and then they played so well. I mean, the MAC was packed sometimes when they were playing, and it was rolling along very well. And it was fun to see them make it into the postseason, and we just had a lot of fun. And I think everybody's looking forward to next year.
Now, how would you describe that success for the teams?
Well, I think it was it's an internal thing. I think you could just watch it on the bench. You could see the players. Everybody kind of assumed a role, and I think they just kind of bought into what Coach Cattell had brought to the table, and they won a lot of big games, bumped off ranked teams, and again got themselves in the playoffs. It was pretty exciting.
Awesome. Now, staying for the men's basketball team, Devin Douglas is one of the guys on the team, senior, so he graduated. But he was on ESPN for the slam dunk contest, actually won. Do you think that kind of maybe put Emery on the map a little bit more?
Well, it sure did at that time, and we're still living off that a little bit. I mean, first of all, for Devin to even be expected to be on there. I mean, they picked to be on the thing. It was pretty incredible for a D2 player, and then to compete, and especially on ESPN with all the people watching, and then to win the darn thing. I mean, that was just amazing. And so it really helped, I think, put our program on the map. Got great publicity for our institution. So hopefully down the road, I think even one of the comments by the ESPN guys was, well, they better get some more applications coming into Emery. Maybe that'll happen because of the notoriety. So it was fun. It was a great event.
Do you think that maybe, makes you feel good? Right?
Well, it does. It just does. That it puts a program like ours, a D2 program, at an excellent school, and it puts them on par, as Devin did. He was very competitive, certainly with the guys that were at the dunk contest, and they were all big-time Division I guys. So it was pretty neat to see him compete toe-to-toe with those guys.
Now, the men's team wasn't the only team that had a good season. The women's team as well. Brittany Deach, she kind of made Emery history. Tell me a little bit about that success.
Well, Brittany's been a great player here for a long time, and to see her go down the road and get closer and closer to the scoring record at the school and the conference, I mean, she broke all kinds of records, literally. And I don't know, they'll stand for a while, and so we're very, very proud of her. And she just had a great year, and the team did too. They were fun to watch, and again, looking forward to the future without Brittany, but I think we'll be pretty good.
Do you think that's kind of hard to come by, a player like her?
Well, it will be, I think, and that's always everybody's recruiting battle, trying to find that key player that can be an outstanding player like that, an all-conference player, an all-American or whatever, and everybody's out recruiting, trying to find those players. I know when I was coaching, that's what I was trying to do, trying to find that young person that can just carry you for a long time.
Now, switching things over to the spring sports season, the baseball team, they've kind of been struggling for a while. They struggled last year. They ended this season with a 9-40 record, not the best. How would you describe that, all in all?
Frustrating. I mean, there's no question that they went through a tough year. They played some close games and this, that, and the other. They had a lot of young players playing. I think Coach Bart had a big recruiting class, so a lot of young guys playing. It's just one of those things. You just got to kind of grow the program, try to recruit young players and develop them, and on you go. But disappointing, obviously. We wish we could have had a better season.
Do you think that it's kind of maybe like part of a rebuilding kind of generation, I guess? I don't know what you'd really call that.
I hope so. I hope we've laid some groundwork. There are a lot of underclass players that started and played a lot, and all that does is help you the next time around. So hopefully we are building a foundation for the future, and it's true of a couple of our other teams. The football team, you could go back, you could look at teams on campus. Some are in a senior, junior mode. some are in the younger mode, and you hope if the younger mode is what's happening with your teams, that they can put those pieces together, get that experience, and then point to the future.
So you'd say that definitely, with the older class kind of moving out and the younger ones kind of stepping up, that should hopefully improve for their seasons?
Well, it is. I think there's only a handful of seniors on the baseball team, for example, and it's true of a couple other teams, that those players will most certainly be missed because they've played for a long time and they're the heart and soul of a team. However, a lot of those young guys and gals and other teams have played a lot as young players, and boy, you really bank on that for the next go-around.
Now, the softball team, they've kind of switched up with some coaches, a new coach this year. How would you say their season was as a whole?
Well, it was pretty chaotic at the beginning with the timing of our coach leaving and taking another job, and then hiring a coach and trying to piece that together. I don't know how many days it was that Coach Shaw was on campus and they're already going to play a game. We're going on a trip to Vegas, I think their first tournament. So that was really tough. And he again is going to be real busy because he didn't have the chance to start the recruiting process back at the beginning of the year too for the next class. So he was kind of behind the 8 ball in both situations. But there was some talented young ladies on the team. They gave her a go. They played some good games and they won their fair share. But I think for the future, I think he's an excellent coach, and I'm hoping that he can recruit the talent that he needs to be competitive and get us into that postseason tournament like everybody's playing for.
So Coach Shaw definitely is going to be staying for another season?
I think so. That's as far as I know, and I hope so. And he's got a lot of work to do to try to probably increase the size of his roster. We had a smaller team. You'd like to have more girls, a little more depth in case injuries or whatever happen, and more pitching and so on. So I know he's got a game plan. We've talked about it, so I'm hoping he can go out and recruit the girls he needs.
All right, now last but not least, track and field. They moved from their outdoor season to the indoor season to the outdoor season, and they seem to have a lot of strong athletes coming out from there.
They do, and they've been probably the premier program on our campus for a long time, both indoor and outdoor, and even cross country with Lexi Zeiss winning the national championship in the fall. That program, Coach Thorson, Coach Newell have just done a fine job, and they get the athletes have depth. And you look at track and field with all the events, I think some of our athletes have come on here at the end of the year, looking at some of the results from the last couple of meets, the last few weekends. Some of them are really kind of hitting their peak right now, which is perfect when they go into that conference meet here next weekend, and then on towards the end of the month with some of them will qualify for nationals, either qualify or provisionally qualify and get to go. So we've sent a pretty good sized group of track and field athletes, particularly on the women's side, to the regionals and nationals. And I think this year will be no exception. It's really exciting because we've got some great individuals.
And it's definitely exciting watching them all compete. Thank you so much, Roger. Well, try not to go too far from the TV. I've got more with Roger as we're going to talk about what to expect this fall season coming up. All right, welcome back. Now to continue our discussion here. Totally spaced, forgot about the tennis team. So we're going to talk about them real quick. Tell me a little bit about how their season was for them.
They had a very good season. They had some all-conference players. They got to play in the conference tournament at the end, which is the goal, as I said, for all of our teams. So Vita Saliendra, our coach, has done a great job. Got some great young ladies. So they did a nice job this year.
Most definitely. Now, as we have moved out kind of the spring season, fall sports are going to be starting up soon. Tell me a little bit about what we should be expecting for fall sports this year.
Well, certainly the premier one will be football because it's such a fan sport here in town. After a tough year last year, a lot of young players had a big recruiting class come in. This will be a transitional year. I think our coach has switched offenses, and we're going to be playing some young players. I think it's going to be an exciting season, and boy, if those young guys can get it early, I think our team can be successful. The competition is just so tough in the league. We're going to need to be at the top of our game early on to be able to do that. And then, of course, cross country, Lexi Zeiss is back, and so she'll be, all the eyes will be on her for all the cross country races, and we'll move forward with those sports and have some fun. Soccer, before I mention, I'm trying to think of all of them here real quick before you close. Soccer, we've had some good solid teams. We've changed up a little bit on our schedule with men's soccer with some more home games. Women's soccer has been real solid. The Cooks, who are now married, our two coaches, do a great job, and I'll be really excited to see them with our home schedule.
Awesome. Well, we are definitely looking forward to this year for fall sports. Thank you so much for coming in, Roger. It was a pleasure having you in. All right. Well, let's take a look at some of the football schedules for this year. The Marauders, they're going to start their season on the road in St. Paul, Minnesota to take on Concordia on September 10th. Now, they'll come home to face Augustana, and then on September 17th, they'll be in Marshall, Minnesota, where they'll take on SMSU, and then come back home for a little while as they host Winona for their homecoming game, followed by a home matchup against Bemidji. Now, that's not the full schedule, but just taking a look into the Marauders football season, as there's still a little bit early for other sports that those schedules really have not been released yet. Now, there are some other events going on this week. Taking a look at the scores from those, the baseball team was at home on Tuesday as they hosted Valley City State and lost 15-2. And then they traveled on over to Aberdeen, South Dakota, where they took on Northern State and split the day, winning their first game 9-5. On Friday, they were in Duluth to take on the Bulldogs, where the Marauders would fall to them in the first game. And then the second game, it was actually postponed to Saturday morning due to rain on Friday, where they also lost that game. And then they finished up their series against the Bulldogs on Saturday, splitting the day, winning the second game 5-3. The track and field team split up and went to Fargo for the Bison tune-up on Friday. For the women's 400-meter dash, Melanie Rodriguez finished first as Shantae Spotzer finished behind her. And then for the women's 1,500-meter run, Jaden Shute finished in first with Jackie Harmon in second. Women's 100-meter hurdles, Tani Pandohi, Maria Bolabruche, and Molly McDonald finished as the top three. And then McDonald would finish in first for women's high jump with Faith Kelstrup finishing first in the women's triple jump. For the men, Lex and Glore finished in first place for the men's long jump at 7.35 meters. And then on Saturday, the men and women were in Moorhead, Minnesota for the Ron Masson's Classic. Both Molly McDonald and Dustin Rube finished first with career bests, along with claiming titles in the men's and women's high jump. And Josie Guptill finished the women's 400-meter hurdles with the best time of the season on NCAA provisional qualifying time. Well, that's going to do it for the spring season here on Marauders Weekly. But just as always, I'll see y'all back here come the fall season, where we'll be talking a lot about football, volleyball, wrestling, and more. You name it. Until then, have a good summer, everybody.
Thank you for watching Marauders Weekly. Join us next Sunday as we showcase more Marauders athletics from home and away in Marauders Weekly, exclusively on NBC North Dakota Sports.